YouTube, what is up? It's your boy Knowledge here from Gaming's Little Playground, and today I'm gonna be talking about Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. So this game just came out. It came out for the Xbox One, the PS4, and the PC. It was due to come out for the 360 and the PS3, but it was pushed back on those two platforms. So those of you who are still playing on the last gen consoles, you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer. I think it comes out November 18th, if I'm not mistaken. So I just wanted to give one man's honest opinion about who should buy this game, why you should buy it, and who shouldn't buy this game and why you shouldn't buy it. So off rip, if you don't know, this game takes place in the Lord of the Rings universe, and if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, I think you'll love this game. I'm a big fan of the Lord of the Rings, both the movies and the books. I read the books when I was younger, and I love the movies as well. So I think that if you like that universe, you're definitely gonna love this game. It really pays respect to Tolkien's tone and to the lore. I mean, I know not everything matches up exactly with the lore, but for the most part it stays within the confines of the Lord of the Rings. And this one actually takes place between the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, between the Fellowship and the Hobbit. So there's a lot of kind of unexplored territory during that time, and it's also an important time because obviously some stuff is going on with the ring, and especially in Mordor. If you follow the main story, you know that the army was kind of building up. The orcs, Sauron's army was building up throughout this whole time, kind of under everybody's nose. And there's definitely, it's like a ripe ground for stories here. So this story, if you don't know, it's about this ranger called Talion. And I'm not going to give too much away for the story. I'm going to tell you the beginning because everybody kind of knows already. Talion and his whole family are murdered, and he's mysteriously somehow comes back to life, and he meets this ghost-like wraith who's an elf, and there's a connection between them. They're bound together somehow, but you don't understand why. And so most of the game is kind of you trying to figure out who the wraith is. He doesn't remember who he is, and it's about Talion trying to get revenge. And so it sets up this great story where it's a mystery throughout, and you're kind of discovering tidbits throughout and finding clues about his past. And when it all comes together, it's a really great moment. It's an awesome story. I think one of the best of the year in my opinion. And I do a lot, those of you who follow my channel know I do all these game stories, so I know these, and to me this is probably one of the best of the year. I can't think of another one so far this year that's even come close as story wise. Combat system, very much so Batman Arkham series. So if you're a fan of the Batman Arkham series, the fighting style, then you're gonna love this game. This is almost ripped straight out of Batman. It's a free-flowing system. Your main attack button, you just keep attacking with X, but then it's fleshed out with all these counter moves and these assassinations and these takedowns. You get a dagger, you get a bow and arrow. So it is fleshed out. It can be on the easier side, but it definitely does get harder because the enemies get harder, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But definitely, if you're a fan of the Batman series, I think automatically you should buy this game. The story is good to begin with, but a main concern with these is always a combat system. A good example of this is Rise: Son of Rome, has a great story, and the combat system is really stylistic, but it's really repetitive. In Rise, all it comes down to is button mashing. You can counter, but really you can get through the game without even countering, to be honest. And it's just not really fleshed out, and like that's a good example of a game where the combat system it was missing those little extra perks. Doesn't matter how stylistic it is, like it came down to just like a lot of quick time events. Shadow of Mordor, on the other hand, you do button mash, but your timing is important to counter. It tells you when you should counter, and if you don't hit it, then you're gonna get hit. And using all your different moves, your rushes, your attacks, your finishing moves, all that is important. So it makes the game, it like adds skill to the game. And then part of what also makes it better is that you're constantly upgrading your character as far as like your moves and your weapons. So that adds to the fun of it. And of course it helps that it's super stylistic. Like some of the kills here just look amazing. It's gory. If you love gore, you'll be awesome. There's heads being chopped off, people being stabbed through the heart. Like it looks wonderful, and it doesn't get like dull or repetitive. The other half of that though that makes it good is that you can play the game in stealth. So it does, you know, the stealth mechanics aren't the greatest. It's not Metal Gear Solid or anything, but it does feel reminiscent of Assassin's Creed. You can creep up on people, you can dive from the sky and from a high fucking tower and drop down on them and fucking kill them. You can sneak up on a bush and wait for somebody to walk by and distract people. So there is a definite stealth aspect to it. So you can switch it up, and a lot of times you can approach the mission however you want to. You can either do it stealth, or you can just go all in and just fight everybody with no sense of strategy or anything. And you might suffer for it. You might lose because of that. And same thing with stealth. Sometimes you just need to go in there and bash people instead of trying to take it slow. So I think that those two different dynamics working together makes the combat really fun, and it just keeps it fresh throughout the entire game. And they keep introducing new mechanics throughout the game, which is another, you know, helpful thing, because a lot of games sometimes they'll front load the mechanics where maybe by the third, fourth mission you've learned everything you have to learn. Now it's up to you to just maybe upgrade stuff, or you know, use things in different ways. But they keep introducing new things as the game goes, even with using Caragors or Grogs, which are animals like beasts that you can use in the game, and you can actually ride these animals and use them offensively, which is like a lot of fucking fun. To get on a Caragor and just tear up orcs, tear up the Uruk, and eat them to pieces. So combat system is definitely a really positive high note for an action adventure game with RPG elements. The combat's really good. I mean, so a game like Assassin's Creed, the combat's really simplistic and simple. They obviously have more fleshed out, you know, stealth things in Assassin's Creed, but the combat can just be repetitive, really button mashing. So this game really puts in the forefront that aspect, the kind of more action part of it. So where does this game innovate? What is different about this game? Where this game really shines is in the Nemesis system. So this is really where it's innovative and different, and something that I think this will keep the game even. It makes it unique. It makes it stand out above everything else. So let me try to explain this as simple as I can. You kind of have to play it more to understand what's going on. But I don't know all the ins and outs. This is just what I know just from playing it, just from what I understand of it. So Mordor is a big open world map, and when you walk around, you'll run into orcs or uruks, which is what you're fighting, your main enemy in the game. And what happens is, just giving you an example, let's say you encounter a random orc and you start fighting this group of orcs, and let's say you die. That orc that killed you will then rank up. He probably started off as a grunt, and then he'll rank up to be a captain. So him killing you will make him rank up. And not only is it just by name, his abilities get better, and he actually can gain a following of other Uruks who are going to follow him because he's a captain. So losing, actually, like dying in the game, there is some real consequence to dying. Like if you're trying to go into a stronghold, for example, and you keep dying and dying, you're just making them stronger. They're actually going to be stronger next time you try to attack. So it's really important for you to try to go by the missions when you're ready, like when you have all the right equipment or you have the right strategy. A lot of times you can't just rush in there and try to kill everybody, because if you die, not only are you gonna have to try it again, they're gonna be stronger. They're actually gonna rank up. Next time they're gonna be harder to fight. So there's real penalties and consequences to losing. And the cool thing about it too is that not every orc is the same. As I understand it, they're randomly generated. So the Nemesis system will randomly generate a Uruk and give them specific, like, different abilities, look, name, and everything. So almost every time you play the game, you'll have different encounters with different Uruks. And the cool thing is that every time, so for example, let's say Pog the Destroyer or something like, so that's the kind of names they generate, or Bob the Excellent. You know, obviously that's a stupid example, but I'm just, they have all these crazy names with titles, and they're randomly generated together. And I know there's thousands of possibilities of all the different names and titles that they have, and all the different features that they have, that all the Uruks look different. And it's cool that I actually give you a dialogue every time that you encounter one, and be like, whoa, he'll tell you, I just killed you. Okay, well, I'll make sure to kill you this time.
Is this some kind of joke? I killed you already.
So he'll recognize you and he'll remember you. So these encounters matter, and they make the game different every time you play it. And it also adds more character to the enemies, which is awesome. Honestly, like, the Nemesis system is something that I know is going to be copied from here on out. A lot of different, there are going to be different iterations of the Nemesis system, because it makes all these randomly generated characters. They're not just like minions, they're actually characters throughout the game for you. But at the end of the day, and who should buy Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor? Like, who's the right person for this game? So first, I would just say, anybody who loves Lord of the Rings, if you love that universe, I think you'll love this game. You'll meet a lot of cool new characters who fit perfectly into what we expect from Lord of the Rings, and you'll see a lot of your old characters, old favorites like Gollum or even Sauron. And the story is done within the confines of the lore. There might be a little stuff that's off, but for the most part, it fits perfectly fine into the lore. So I don't think you should be bothered too much by that aspect of it. Second, anybody who likes action RPGs or action adventure games like Batman Arkham series or Assassin's Creed, I think you'll definitely love this game. You should definitely pick it up. And overall, I think the only people who shouldn't buy it is people who didn't like Assassin's Creed or didn't like Batman, which are definitely, there's people out there who don't enjoy those games. You know, not everybody loves those games, but I think for the most part, any gamer will enjoy this game. There's a lot to it. The story will probably take you about 10 to 12 hours to beat if you just try to do the story. But there's a lot of other stuff. There's side missions. Overall, if you just try to experience the whole game, the whole open world, it'll probably take you about 30 hours, if not more, depending on how much you like the Nemesis system. So it's definitely a lengthy game that you can really put your teeth into. And there's DLC on the way, which is unfortunate on some aspects, because I know 2 of them are story missions, and they kind of seem like they should be in the game already. But that's the world we live in with these DLC stuff, which is unfortunate. But overall, the game feels complete. It doesn't feel like they just took these missions out of the game. It feels like it's a complete story, and so I'll give it that. But yeah, overall, should you buy Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor? I say a resounding yes. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Peace.